We are in action, Scott, and just a few days away from the Boardroom Show, where all of our going to see all of our friends and listeners. A couple of our show sponsors will probably be there.
Yeah, I know Colby Plus will be there. NVS will be there. Who are our other? Trees Wax. Christian will be there. Who am I missing? Show sponsors.
I think that's a good roundup. But yeah, Colby Plus. We've been wearing their wetsuits for a long time, and I know we see listeners walking around the show every year holding their purchase. So Colby Plus has something new in the works. In addition to the incredible bags and wetsuits on offer, they got something new. I'm not supposed to reveal it. I think it may be available at the Boardroom Show, but if you want the first look, come and get it at the Boardroom Show or go to colbyplus.com because I'm sure it'll be available soon.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing Rob and the Colby Plus crew at the show. And yeah, there's going to be some specials. There's quite a few rip roaring deals and specials at this show for sure. So it'll be good to see. And you know what? What a great time to buy a wetsuit. The water's 66 degrees here in San Diego, taking a slight dip. And frankly, I'll wear a full suit when it's 66
Oh, yeah.
degrees at these. I used to, when I was younger, I'd be like, but these days I like to be toasty no matter what, which explains the cashmere.
The other detail is wetsuits have gotten more comfortable.
Yeah,
It was kind of like back in the day, it was a hassle. You're like, I'm gonna get a rash and I'm gonna be stiff. So is it worth it, or should I just tough out the 66-degree water?
that's a great point.
And now it's like, I feel better in Yamamoto than I do in board
I'm
shorts.
just going to wear my Yamamoto Colby Plus around the house. Who needs cashmere? It feels like cashmere when you put that thing on. It's so silky.
And it's inexpensive. So go to colbyplus.com to grab that. And then, of course, realwatersports.com for any and all of your other water sport needs, including surfboards from a who's who of people that you and I have interviewed.
Yeah, and Tripp and his crew at Real Water Sports, they have been known to peruse the aisles of the boardroom show and keep a discerning eye out for maybe perhaps a new surfboard brand and shaper that they'll bring into their floor at their retail outlet. So thank you for real Trip for being a part of it, and just Trip's like you and me. This guy loves surfboards. Like he's a surfboard fanatic, and I mean he's kind of like brother from another mother. You know what I mean? Like he's like our long lost brother, David.
East Coast brethren. Yeah, I feel like that's how the relationship with Ryan Sakel happened for real. Roger Hines, I know he met through the boardroom show, and those
Gary
are kind of,
Linden.
yeah, that's right, Gary Linden. So those are prominent, mainstays in the real board loft now. So go
Yeah.
check it all out at realwatersports.com.
As we see some movement at the takeoff zone, it's Kelly Slater grabbing rail.
Yeah, guy. Yeah, guy. Yeah, guy. David, welcome to the show. It's October 7th, David, and it's the year 2025, and there's a lot going on in the world of surf. Good morning to you, David Lee Scales.
Good morning to you, Scott William Bass. Almost forgot your middle name there.
Yeah.
Um, are you anxious, nervous, overwhelmed with your upcoming boardroom show this weekend?
Yes to all of those things. Anxious, nervous, overwhelmed. A little bit overwhelmed. It's this 1 week before there are all these little things just pop up,
Of course, yeah.
And one of those things that popped up was me at 2 in the morning this morning. And I was up and like, oh man, I gotta get to it. So I've been up drinking coffee all morning, getting to it.
Do you make a list
Oh
or like
yeah.
in the middle of the night or before I go to bed sometimes when I have things running in my mind, just writing it down gets it off my out of my head?
Yeah, writing it down doesn't do that for me. The one thing that allows me to get a good night's sleep, besides the AG1Z,
Dude, how good is that? Have you been using it?
which is right here. Let me just show people this.
I noticed the
I, sh-
benefit instantly.
I should have used it last night.
Yeah.
I've forgotten about it. But um, what I was getting at was, oh, meditating. I've been meditating. I found a whole new level and by the way, I'm not here to brag about meditating. I should just shut up at this point because there's nothing lamer than somebody, you know, but Quiet time. I'll just leave it right there. That's been helping me sleep.
Before bed?
Before bed, I listen to Alan Watts.
Yeah, you've told me that.
It's amazing.
Do you have a rule around when to use your phone or when not to? Like, do you put it away at a certain point?
I I definitely don't bring it to bed. I read, I'm reading this book called The Fate of the Day about the Revolutionary War. It's really well written. This guy's won Pulitzers. It's incredible. But then and then my wife and I will listen to Alan Watts um,
So
to
do you
wind down.
charge your phone in a different room? You said you don't bring it to bed.
I charge my phone next to me, but it's turned off.
Okay, gotcha.
I turn the ringer off and
Yeah,
I don't engage with it.
very good. So in preparation for the boardroom show, anything to discuss?
You know what? We're giving away 5 surfboards. That's kind of big news. The virtual swag bag is getting slammed. If you want to go, you should, if you're listening to the show and you're going to the boardroom show, you should definitely download the virtual swag bag. There's so many great deals in there. And among the things in the bag is, we're giving away a Ryan Birch shaped McTavish Bluebird. So there's a lot of upside to
Is
downloading the virtual swag bag. You can go to boardroomshow.com and get the swag bag. And
so
when you go to the show, there'll be a QR code that you can download the bag.
that was a board that Ryan shaped last year at the McTavish Icons of Foam shape off. Is it glassed?
Oh yeah, it's all glassed.
Wow.
It's beautiful. Yeah,
Okay. Sweet.
yeah. Other than that, I mean, it's all systems go. I don't want to bore the listeners with a full rundown, but
Why we do every week.
okay. Free wetsuit repair by Patagonia. We're giving away 5 surfboards. The Icons of Foam. I mean, we do talk about this a lot, but I mean, the shaping competition's going to be pretty incredible. I've been getting phone calls from the guys. They're getting fired up,
Yeah.
and it's going to be good.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited to be there. I'll be there Friday during setup and then all weekend long, Saturday and Sunday. So I'm psyched.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I have a who said that for you in my attempt to
Mm.
stump you.
I'm going 2 weeks in a row with W's, which I feel pretty good about. I'm thinking about just hanging it up and quitting right now, not even contributing to this one.
Yeah.
Walk away with the win.
By the way, we had a bet for $100 about something. I don't even remember what it was. Do you recall?
Probably finals five related, final five.
I feel like I won. I don't know. Anyway, let me try to stump you here. Okay.
Also, $100 seems rich. I don't know if we would have bet 100.
Yeah,
But I
maybe.
mean, I don't even remember what it was
I
for.
don't either.
I just
Doesn't
feel
matter.
like it would have been $10.
Yeah, think you're
Um,
right.
Listeners are always better at remembering that sort of thing. So listeners remind us.
Yeah. Okay, so who said that, David? And I quote, remember when those guys pulled out of the contest at Waimea Bay because they were scared shitless? I'd like to see more of that and less of these crap waves. We're not reaching for that level of excitement anymore. We just do these boring little neutral events. It's senseless for us to be out in these tiny waves hopping and jumping around. We should be carving and slamming and disappearing into huge barrels. It ought to be everyone looking forward to these things, surfers, sponsors, fans. Everyone should be jumping out of their skin. David, who said that?
Could be anybody.
This is true. A, was it Barton Lynch? B, was it Gary Elkerton? C, was it Sonny Garcia? Or D, was it Derek Ho?
You know, doesn't feel like Barton to me. Doesn't feel like Sonny to me. Also doesn't feel like Derek. So I'm going to go Gary Elkerton.
David, you're wrong. It's
Mm.
Derek Ho. Derek
Mm.
Ho said that. And I thought you'd get that because, of course, Derek Ho rode Eric Arakawa Island Classic surfboards to his 1986 Pipeline Masters Championship and his 93 Pipe Masters and 93 World title. WCT Hawaiian World Champion Derek Ho.
Mm. I mean, it's funny how some things never change. They've been, I mean, that sentiment that he's communicating is still relevant today.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I'm starting to feel that way a little bit about wave pool events. I'm just not quite as excited as I once was. I mean, the airs are insane and all of it's definitely, and there's groundbreaking stuff and, and they make it fun. It's not that they're bad or wrong. They're just not exciting me like carving, slamming, and disappearing into huge barrels.
Absolutely. No, there's no comparison. They're two different things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have kind of surf news topics that I could segue directly in from that conversation. There's
I do too.
there's a wave pool conversation, or there's a wave pool event happening this weekend while we are at the Boardroom Show. And then also the Eddie just announced their invitee list for this coming season. So those
Let's talk
things,
about the stab event in Sydney because I think it's cool.
okay, those things
Even though
stand in.
I just said it's not. I think people should watch it. I mean, I think if you're into it, we should tell people about it. I think it's fascinating.
Well, it's definitely worth noting. I mean, look, we'll be walking around the Boardroom Show and everybody's going to have their phones going at the same time, checking in to see what's happening during that event. Um, I'm so the kind of big headline here is the two world champs, the two current world champs, men and women's champ, are going to be
Yeah,
competing in this event. So
yeah.
huge kudos to Stab for pulling this off. I think there's always been a criticism, not a criticism, but just a commentary about the best free surfers in the world versus the best competitive surfers in the world, and we don't get to see them compete against one another. On any given year, somebody wins a world title, but we also point to at 10 years ago Dane Reynolds putting out the craziest edits, or John is the best surfer in the world but he's not even on tour this season, kind of thing. There's always been that conversation happening. This is a scenario where we actually get to see the best aerialists against the best competitive surfers go toe to toe.
And I really feel like so. My heart is actually wants Molly and Yago to win.
Interesting.
Yeah, to just kind of stamp like, okay, yeah, what you guys are doing is great in here, and but you know, this is where the real game happens over here, where you got to grind through heats. There's no, bro, high five. Yeah, did you see that? It's more grindy. And it's more what competition, could be argued truly is. So that's kind of my take on it. I would love to see them both kind of just decimate the field.
Well, the other reality is they are among the best aerialists in the world. When you see Molly Picklam's airs that she's completed, they showed a couple of wave pool clips in when Stab announced her entry. She's doing as gnarly of airs as I've seen any of the women do. And Yago, we know, is one of the best aerialists in the world. So they actually have a right to be there.
Yeah, no doubt. And you figure, you're sort of used to this pressure moment. They're used to having the clock tick down on them and for them to need to perform right here, right now, in front of all these people. And so that might be, you might say, what advantage champions in that regard.
Well, I have another question for you. Years ago, I think I identified the WSL should be kind of looking to the UFC to take cues for how to, obviously not the pugilistic kind of aspect of the brutality of the UFC, but I mean the way that they grew that business where they had this core fan base 20 years ago who loved MMA fighting, and nobody would have believed that there'd be a mainstream audience for it. And what the UFC did initially was try to pander down to the broad audience and make it less brutal. And it turns out they alienated their core audience and the mainstream audience didn't care. So once Dana White got involved, he actually leaned into the brutality aspect of it and created rules to make it more fair. People can't punch each other in the nuts. There'd be weight classes, no eye gouging, stuff like that. Yeah. So he made it um, more, let's call it, I don't know what, fair, more sporting, I guess. But still leaned into the brutality of it because that was the core conceit. So that was my argument way back when. It was like surfing needs to always lean into the man versus nature or woman versus nature element. And I'm wondering, in a lot of ways, other than the pool, is if Stab Magazine has actually executed this. Because we now get something that's basically on demand, or we know when it's going to run, anyways. It's running on these days. It's a pay-per-view style of format. It's totally digestible, like a UFC or a pay-per-view event is. It's heavyweights going toe to toe. You know, you got the world champ versus the best aerialist, as proven by he won this event in the past. You know, going toe to toe, and so they're not uh, encumbered by a qualification system. Like the WSL has to they have this feeder system and you go by those rules and the top 10 go on to here. No, Stab can just pick. They're just like, nope, Matt Miola. Oh, who did it air on the internet last week? That guy over there. And then who's the world champ? Let's put those together. So again, other than running in a pool, I feel like they've given us this UFC format that we always asked about.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And so the next, sort of piece to the puzzle is when are they going to throw those guys into 10-foot Kandui laughs, just two guys for an hour.
Well,
And I'm sure that it can be done. I mean, I know Sam and those guys are really bright and the logistics of it are sort of a bit of a headache, but I'm sure that that's really what's missing, right?
that's what's coming. So they've done stab high in the ocean in the past and had varying levels of success with it. I would argue they've had success with it. And then they've done the Surf 100 events, which are kind of what you're saying, like go one spot, the heavyweights, just toe to toe. The next evolution is a combination of these two things. Where
Stoob. Call it Stoob. Instead of stab, we call it Stoob. Stoob time.
I like it. You're onto something. But it's inevitable that they land on that ultimate conclusion,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. By the way, it's not that I'm not going to watch it. Like earlier I said, I'm just not going to watch the live event for 3.5 hours or whatever it is. I definitely will see the boiled down, the highlights of it. Like that kid, who's that Aussie kid that blew Vaughn or something, or
Yeah, Huey Vaughn.
yeah, Huey Vaughn. That kid was incredible, right? So, and it's
Insane.
fun. It's fun to see the boiled down version. Thursday, Los Angeles time. So if you're on the Pacific Coast, Pacific Standard Time, it shows on stabmag.com at 3 p.m. Thursday and at 5 p.m. Friday. So two-day events, qualifying, and then the main event. So the main event would be 5 p.m. Friday Pacific Standard Time
Oh, my
here on.
mistake. I thought it was running concurrently with the Boardroom Show on the weekend, but this works out
Well, it
better
is,
for us.
but they're a day ahead, we're a day behind or whatever it is. So
Yeah, yeah.
our Friday is their Saturday.
Yeah, perfect. That works out better for us.
Yeah.
Well, the other, like I said, story here is the Eddie announced their invitee list for this coming season, and it really reminded me how much the Eddie matters. Like, I mean, they don't run every year, so this is potentially going to run. We've had a couple of epic years in a row, epic events in a row. But what's interesting, the event is spectacular to watch. It's incredibly relevant every time it runs. But I heard Makua Rothman was on Mason Ho and Jamie's podcast. I interviewed Makua a couple of weeks ago, a month ago or something, and I watched his podcast with Mason and Jamie in preparation. And he did some backstory about an eddy that they had all surfed in. And there is so much going on in the water in a given heat out there. And there's so many different surfers. It's impossible for the cameras to catch it all. But unfortunately, there's also no other production happening to document these events. And so when I get these little backstories, I'm like, man, this is so ripe for cultivating like documentary. There should be documentaries made about every single event, basically, because it's fascinating and it's death defying, and the story that Makua was telling was he had Kala Alexander in a heat, and there was a bit of a mix up. They were both on a wave together, and there was one of them pushed the other one out of position too much. It was actually, I think, Kala put Makua in a bad position, and Makua went and ate it, and Kala got the ride. They got to the beach, and Kala, who's obviously an elder and kind of an enforcer type, he was the one who was in the wrong. And Makua's dad, Eddie, was like, you have to fight him. Like, there's no two ways about it. You have to fight Makua on the beach, or you have to fight Kala on the beach. And Makua's like, what the hell, dude? Like, there's tons of people around. There's cameras around. He's like, go behind the tent and punch him out, Um,
Oh my God.
right. Like, and I was like, this is fascinating. And I remember seeing that wave and I remember seeing the exchange, but to me, I didn't know that there was any somebody pushing another person out of position. I just thought, oh, he ate it. I had no idea what the backstory was. But I'm like, man, every single wave that comes through, there's this level of story happening. I would love for somebody to get involved and help tell these
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, the story that I'd like to see excavated is the moment when I think it was in the 2002 or right around there. I think it was the one that Bruce Irons won, where Flea just does excuse me, a full on free fall is what I meant to say. A free fall from the top of the ceiling of a massive, and he was deep. And I mean, he landed. It wasn't like he was out on the corner. He could have gone left. You know what I mean?
The thing
And
was a full bowl. It was like a
full on
backdoor
bowl.
bowl.
Everyone's seen the pictures, and I would love to hear the backstory on that because I think there's a lot going on there. Like, I don't want to, you know, I don't
I
want
think
to say
it,
something that's wrong, but there was a lot going on. There might have been some stuff going on the night before. Who knows what was going on?
Flea allegedly Flea was on
Allegedly,
substances.
I didn't say. I'm not. I just know that I think Flea's in a place now too where he would probably tell the story with,
I think
and you know,
he
with
has,
all its
yeah.
warts and stuff. So that would be a pretty cool one, you know, to excavate a story to excavate from the Eddy. And then, like you say, there's so many great ones, you know?
I'm psyched. When I was just reminded that this event is kind of on the docket, I was like, as much as we love the idea of them Stab being able to pre-program for our own scheduling,
Yeah.
that's great, but there's nothing that compares to the uncertainty and unpredictability of the Eddy.
Let me just say that I'm sort of disappointed that JoJo Roper didn't make the main event. He is on the alternate list, which is okay, but you could make a point, an argument perhaps that, you know, there was a point last year where you could argue that JoJo was winning the event at one moment during the event, you know, or he was in the top, you know, and he goes about his business. He's super low key, second generation North Shore Charger from California. You know, there's no California males in the main event. And I don't know, maybe I'm just a homer for the San Diego crew, but I'm hoping JoJo slides in there as an alternate because I think he deserves it. And I think the
Yeah.
state of California deserves to have a male in there. I know
But
it's tough to pick this,
you
you know, you look at the invites and you're like, they're all worthy. There's no way you could say this guy deserves it and that guy doesn't, but you know, it's a tough gig. And, but another Eddie, I'm excited and kudos to Rip Curl, I guess, for putting it on.
so I was of two minds with
Yeah.
your JoJo conversation because um there are people who make a big splash in recent years. It seems like the Eddie list is curated over the course of decades, or a decade at least. And JoJo's certainly been around for a decade. I'm not minimizing JoJo's, but my thought was, is there a place for the Eddie to update in the way that Stab is able to, where like, honestly, who dominated this last year? Give that person a shot, Like let's get some totally fresh blood in this, not the entire list, but just who was the most relevant person in the last year or two and throw them in the mix and just see what happens. So that was my first thought. And then my second thought was, no, I love the legacy of it. I love the idea of 60-year-olds still getting invited. Ross Clark Jones or Eddie, or I mean, Clyde Eichow back last time he competed in the event. I think he was 62. But yeah, Ross Clark Jones is invited again this year. So I like the idea. If there's going to be any event on the planet that should have a legacy kind of decades long list, it should be the Eddie.
I agree. I mean, I agree with that too. And I think I just counted 22 or 26 of the invitees are from Hawaii. And I think that there should be a large sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? A large lean towards Hawaiians in the event because of what Eddie meant to the state of Hawaii and to the Hawaiian culture. So um,
Look,
I'm not, like I said, I'm just personally disappointed because I'm a San Diego homer. And I also feel like JoJo deserves it. It's not like I'm trying to crowbar in somebody that doesn't deserve it.
JoJo specifically, I think, will get invited in the next few years. Like he
Yeah.
is certainly pleading his case and earning it every single season. Um, and JoJo's far down the list, actually. I think he's number 15. Yeah, he's 15. I think he should be higher up on the list currently. But the other thing is, you and I don't know. Like
Yeah,
the
that's true.
number the number three invitee or alternate is Asamu Sumi from Japan. Never heard of him, but I presume he's out putting time in at Waimea, and those who run the event know that. So you
Yeah.
and I are
Yeah.
not privy to all the information of who these other people are. The other thing is, I don't like the idea of there needs to be representation. Like, oh, we just need somebody from California in the mix. Like,
Right.
I think that they specifically uh, choose people who have performed at this venue. So if you're putting time in at Waimea, which JoJo, he's surfed there before, but he's putting time in at a lot of other locations too. He's spending a lot of time at Mavericks, Cloud Break, all sorts of stuff. So I think they are heavily weighing those who surf Waimea more frequently.
Yeah, they are. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Again, kudos to Rip Curl. They seem to know how to run events. They seem to know, the cultural import, and they seem to understand the space in a way that some other brands don't. I
Well,
would, yeah,
I want to say more about that. It's almost irrelevant to me who the sponsor of an event is personally. Like I'm not going to buy their clothes one way or another. No offense to those brands. I grew up buying all their clothes, but what Rip Curl has done, to your point, is strike while everybody else was laying down. Like during COVID, budgets got tight, people stopped
yeah.
spending money, budgets restricted. They were the ones who started getting involved and supporting these industry events and keeping the money flowing into them so that the
They
events can
sort of
keep
bought the
running.
dip, didn't they? They're like buying the dip.
That's the best way to put it. But so not only is that a savvy business decision for them, I just, as a viewer and a fan, appreciate that these events were able to continue running and that the surfers involved were able to keep making money off of the events because they were infusing cash into them, capital. So
Yeah,
kudos to Rip Curl for that.
I don't know who's running things over there. I don't know. Is Neil Ridgway still the VP of marketing? Because he's got salt in his veins. I just wonder who, like, do they do they call Claw and say, "Hey, what are your thoughts on this?" Or
Look,
I don't-
they had huge opportunities and everybody else balked.
well,
everybody else everybody else kind of looked at it and was like, I don't know, not time to spend money. And they were like, we'll buy 3 events plus finals day for the next 3 years. And then the Eddie comes available. Sweet. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
yeah, I've got another opportunity for Rip Curl. You ready for this?
I can't wait.
As you know, the WSL has shifted back to the old paradigm regarding contest timeframes. And at the end of 2026 in December, they'll be running the Pipeline Masters to finish the WSL season, the WCT. Wouldn't it be wise of them to invest and reinvigorate the Triple Crown and get, the Haleiwa event and the Sunset event back into this Triple Crown mode? It seems like the Triple Crown's lying there ready to be scooped up. Talk about buying the dip. I guess
Huge opportunity.
you'd probably have to deal with Vans. I don't know who owns it, but it seems like even if you like, it seems like you could just swoop in there and rebrand it.
I mean, huge opportunity. And I feel like Vans is in a position where they
They'd
would be
sell it.
willing to sell it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, send that note over to Rip
You
Curl. That's
you
a huge
you uh you,
opportunity.
you were raising your eyebrows at my potential opportunity until I threw it out there.
Well, because I thought you were going to be like, they should sponsor this podcast or they should sponsor the Boardroom Show,
No,
make it some
no,
personal.
no. Dude, I would I ever do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, they should, but They
By the way,
showed.
Landon McNamara's story would be a good one. I know it's been told, but you know, that was quite a couple of weeks that that poor guy had, and regarding, he had some legal issues. He wanted like
Oh,
there
it's a
was.
crazy story.
It's a
Yeah, and
crazy story.
so 100%. Yeah, no, that and the year before was the Luke Shepardson story, which was an unbelievable
That I feel
story.
like that was told somewhere. Like
Well,
I feel like I watched that. You probably turned me on to something where I watched that.
they covered it on 100 Foot Wave this season.
That's what it was. Right.
Dedicated a whole episode to it.
That was cool.
Which again, that was the kind of the behind the scenes thing that isn't happening, that needs to be happening more because they did do that to a certain degree with that. But yeah, kudos to Rip Curl for their savvy moves and also their investments into the core of the space.
Yeah.
We,
Good
we're
stuff.
bene- we're beneficiaries of that.
I see here that Jamie O'Brien's on the list, as he should be, but I bring that up because I want to segue into my must-see moment presented by Trees Wax. Look, there's a lot of stuff that I could tell you. Tosh Tudor got some clips that should be the must-see moment. There's so many must-see moments out there. There's some stuff that's happened recently in Tahiti, but I don't know if you saw the recent draining of the Waimea Bay River and that river wave that is created there because of it. And we've all seen this wave numerous times, but this time it's got this really glassy, I guess what they call like jello, as they say, as far as the glassiness of it. And it's pretty rippable. And it's so on that level, I think it's my must-see moment presented by Trees Wax. It's O'Brien's latest YouTube clips.
Okay.
It's him and Koa Smith, and just because it's legit, 3.5, 4 feet, and just uber smooth, and Jamie and Koa are just ripping it. It's pretty interesting.
I always like seeing footage of that wave, but no, I haven't seen that yet. By the way, you said I could say Tosh Tudor or these other things. Are you at a certain point of desensitization in regard to surf clips that come out any given week?
Yeah, I don't.
It's we're in a
Yeah,
weird space.
I know. I'm just
Every
like
every week there's
flipping
stuff
through.
that's like internet breaking. So ultimately what ends up happening is I start preparing for spit early in the week. And I sit down and I go, huh, I haven't really seen anything this week that like blew my mind. So then I pull up my phone and I look at stuff maybe that I saved or that I just made a note of. It's like, oh yeah, there was 3 things on Monday, there was 4 things on Tuesday, there was 10 things on like that were mind blowing. New
Yeah.
angles, crazier waves than I've ever seen surf before. And I'm just like, how is it when I sat down on Monday, I couldn't remember those things, but there was a deluge of them.
And what I've noticed, and God, I hope I'm not ringing the old man bell here, but I find myself wanting to check out, like, I've been watching retro footage of guys just, from whenever, on the Encyclopedia of Surfing's videos. And there's just some fascinating, fun stuff to revisit.
I find that stuff to be, there are a couple of Instagram accounts as well that post like old
Nalu.
videos. Nalu posts old videos.
Like that
Um,
clip. Did you see the clip that I'm talking about? The Nalu posted on
which one?
Instagram of Tom Curran. Won the Wave of the Winter one year, I guess. And he's on one of those Hamish Graham single fin deep channel sixes. He's at backdoor
Yeah.
and he just styles his way through this thing.
And does the
And I mean,
knock knee cutty at the
yeah,
end? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the greatest part of the wave could be the end of it where he just like styles his way in on the foam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an unreal wave. But yeah, I agree with you. I watch a lot of that stuff too, and it's so much of it is still relevant now. There was I want to say I forget who posted it, but it was footage of a contest from like it was Wayne Lynch versus David Nueva. And
Really?
yeah,
Where?
way back riding like single fins with no rocker, like super flat boards,
Where were
narrow.
they?
I forget where. It was in
It sounds like
Australia.
a world contest or
It
something at
was
like Johanna, maybe.
it was on a right that was like head high, but not.
Was it Winky Pop?
No, it wasn't Winky Pop. I don't know where it was,
It might have
but
been Puerto Rico where they're wearing
it was
wetsuits.
it was it was Puerto Rico. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
the
Yeah.
world contest in Puerto Rico.
And
1970, maybe?
maybe. and the boards were inhibiting their surfing so drastically, but the way that they knew exactly what to do to get the board to go where that needed to go. And you're
Yeah.
watching those little details and you're like, that's exactly what I should be doing on my modern surfboard. I would just get so much more drive and maneuverability out of it. Just you're watching those little fundamentals of the way that they're positioning their bodies. Because if you can move that flat surfboard with one fin on it, imagine what
Yeah.
you could do on a thruster.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Isn't that
much to
amazing?
glean from old footage like that.
It really is.
Um, let me go back to my notes. I had a
Oh,
couple.
what
Go ahead.
this came to my mind while you were talking. I was thinking about great style um and I thought about Brad Gerlach. Gerlach's doing a boardroom talks, a wave key talk on Saturday at the Boardroom Show. So that should be cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be there for that. And not to pull focus from the boardroom show, but SEMA is doing the SEMA Summit on Wednesday after the boardroom show. And
Oh,
I've been invited to interview Paul Naude. So some of this
mm,
stuff that we're talking about with Rip Curl or just this industry kind of insider stuff, if
yeah.
you're it's surfindustry.org to go and get tickets for the SEMA Summit. And obviously, it's mostly surf industry people that are there, but I'm sure if anybody else in Orange County wanted to go, it'll be Wednesday all day, kind of during the day, various talks. But I think at noon, I'm going to be doing the one with Paul. You know, the first question I'm going to ask him?
No,
How do you pronounce your last name?
this is a good one. And you know what? You'll get an answer and you still won't. And like 3 months later, you'll be like, wow, is it Nod or Nade?
You know what I guarantee it is people with an accent will just barely put an inflection on something. So it's probably like it's nod, and then he
I think it's Nod.
and then he trails off with a day at the end, like it's Paul Nada, it's Paul Nada, and I'll be like, wait, what? Nod? Nade.
You know what? I want to discuss this more. Let's take a quick break and
Okay,
we'll come back.
okay. All right, Scott. Waterwaystravel.com is always with us, and they're always with you. They are your surf travel concierge.
Yeah, this is that time of year too, and there's hurricanes popping on both coasts here. In the northern hemisphere here, and like Barbados was firing a couple days ago. The footage I saw of Barbados, that's one of those things you're talking about in Instagram where you're like, oh, I forgot. That was insane. And then, of course, here we've got some hurricanes here down in Mexico. So this is the time of year when you're going to kind of do these hit and splits. Reach out to Waterways. The guys at Waterways are going to be able to dial you right into, putting you in the best place so that you're going to get a bunch of good waves. So Waterways Travel, travel with the experts. David
I
and I
mean,
do.
yeah, absolutely. They have 30 years of experience working with hotels, airlines, boat captains, photographers, handlers. Like that is the benefit of working with. It's like having a friend who's traveled there before, but they've been to 40 places around the world and they have these 30-year relationships. And so, yeah, like Scott's saying, with whatever's happening weather-wise, they're clued in and they can help you get to where you want to go or even just answer your questions and get you to where they recommend going. That's what a concierge does, and they're the best at it. So go to waterwaystravel.com.
By the way, welcome back. Welcome back to the Spit Podcast. We're back. Uh, one of the things about the Triple Crown, one of the flaws that it had was that at the end of the year, the Pipeline Masters was a CT event. So if you were a young guy and you did well at Haleiwa and or Sunset Beach, you still might not even get into the third crown jewel of the Triple Crown because there wasn't room. They only had room for two, that occurred a couple of times and it was sort of brushed under the table and just looked the other way. But now, because they have the old, they have one of the permits, and it's a Challenger Series that happens this year. I think in February, you could actually run the Triple Crown and have it go from February and then have two events in October and November of the same year, but 8 months later,
Yeah,
and have the Triple Crown so that you get all of the Challenger guys into the into the pipe event.
definitely. And so the format could be improved upon there, but also I want to second what you're saying. The format is well worth bringing back because puts an emphasis on Hawaii, which is
Yeah.
something that unfortunately has fallen by the wayside, where Hawaii is Mecca, and having kind of these three heavily weighted events that are their own title worth getting, aside from points related to any other tour, I think is absolutely
And plus
crucial. I mean,
you buy all that history too. Like if
dude,
you pick up the brand, you buy all that history. But anyway, you're interviewing Paul Naude for the SEMA Surf Summit.
yeah, look, that's all that needs to be, or that I intended to say about it was just if anybody's interested in
I have
coming,
some questions for you,
okay, send them my way.
suggestions, some thoughts. Oh, you
Send
mean
them.
you don't want me to say it over the
If
phone?
you have
Okay.
them, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, ask him about the boards that he shaped. You know, he was a shaper, still is.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ask him about the boards he shaped way back when, like early 70s. Ask him about Gavin Sutherland.
What do you want to know?
I don't know, just do a little research. Ask him what he thinks of Gavin Sutherland. Gavin Sutherland won a pretty large event in Hawaii as like
You,
a young South African.
you're thinking of a different Gavin. It's
Oh,
not
am
Gavin
I?
Sutherland. Yeah.
Who am I thinking of?
His name is Gavin, but uh, I have to look it up.
He was a South African guy in the like late 60s, early 70s. I'm not sure which event he won. It was like
It was
a
Sunset Beach where
Smirnoff. It was like a
Gavin
Smirnoff.
Rudolph.
Yeah, Gavin Rudolph. Thank you.
Gavin
Ask
Rudolph.
him about Gavin Rudolph.
It was Sunset Beach. It was
A Duke?
I don't remember exactly.
Smirnoff?
Yeah, I mean I kind of
I'm gonna
went
find out.
I figured this out at some point. There was a listener sent me a story about them encountering Gavin Rudolph when they were surfing in South Africa, and like not that long ago. And then I did a deep dive and learned about the Gavin Rudolph story. And somebody sent me a newspaper clipping from when he won that event. But yeah, he was like 17, 18 years old. I think he was riding a Parish that he had never ridden before. Like he bought it for the trip, but the waves were tiny. So he didn't get to ride it until the day of the event. And he showed up and it wasn't even wax. So it was the first time riding that board, and he took out a who's who of other, like Billy Hamilton and a bunch of other people.
Billy Hamilton, yeah, it was the 1971 Smirnoff.
Yeah.
And this young guy, he just kind of played it. I mean, you know who he beat? He beat Billy Hamilton, Jeff Hackman, Ryan Dotson, Eddie Aikau, Clyde Aikau, Ben Ipa, and Al Chapman. Gavin Rudolph just showed up and he just super low key under the radar and just came out and it was pumping like 12-foot sunset.
Yeah. And everybody just like didn't even know who he was when he went up to collect his trophy. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great story. But I can ask him about Gavin Sutherland too, if you want. I don't know.
I don't, I'm not sure. I think Gavin Sutherland, is he related to Jock?
I think he's Jock's son. He was like a goofy footer. When I was coming up in the mid early 90s, he was like doing aerials. Like he was one of the first aerial dudes in Hawaii. Um, anyways, cool. I will add those to the list.
Yeah, there's a couple of thoughts.
The other thing I wanted to follow up with you on is the smartest surfer in the world.
Oh,
Remember,
yeah.
2 weeks ago, we were discussing Cliff Capone's Vice documentary that they made about him called Let It Kill You. And I was like, there's a lot of other smart surfers in the world. Like, unfortunately, the stereotype is Spicoli, but there are other surfers in the world long before Cliff that could be in this conversation. And guess what? Listeners chimed in, both on YouTube and on the Spotify comments. We got some great submissions. So would you like to hear them?
Yes, I would. I'm trying to find the one Chris Morrow sent me, but please let's hear what we got.
Yeah, he might have DM'd it to both of us.
Yeah.
It was a DM of one of his posts on the Surfing Heritage and Culture Center. It was somebody that I was unaware of, a name that I had never heard before, but seemed like a worthy submission. Anyways, try to listen while you're doing that.
I'm listening.
What
I'm
about
listening. I'm here.
Ricky Grigg, PhD oceanographer and YMA pioneer?
Killer one. He's at the top of the list.
Well,
He's the top of my list. Ricky
okay,
Grigg.
so
Doesn't get better.
Cliff unfortunately gets bumped down. Ricky over Cliff.
Ricky Grigg. Oh yes, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Sarah Gerhard. She's a PhD in chemistry.
Yeah.
First woman to surf Mavericks. Bob Pearson has a few twin fin guns and twin longboards as her models. Very active in the local surf programs for disadvantaged kids. So Sarah's in the conversation. I need to reach out to Sarah for a proper podcast interview because
Yeah,
that
you
sounds
do.
fascinating. What
And you
about?
know what? Another one just came to my mind.
Hmm,
Valerie Duprat,
oh my
surfboard
gosh.
shaper, mermaid surfboards. I'm going to butcher what she does for a living, but she's like high level vax PhD chemistry, similar maybe to what Sarah does, but I know she works with vaccines. So what would that be? Epidemiologist? I don't know.
Yeah. So
Valerie's smart.
Valerie Duprat is. I'm pulling up her.
Yeah, she's something. What is that? She's
Well, I'm
like
pulling up her LinkedIn, but she doesn't keep it updated, unfortunately. But yeah,
she's a listener. She's going to berate
sorry,
you
Valerie.
there.
The reason I'm pausing is because I'm trying to read while I'm doing
I know you're
this.
doing good. I'm trying to hold the dead space by saying nothing while you read. And I will say this, that I know for a fact that Valerie's got some really incredible job here in La Jolla somewhere, maybe.
She's biotech scientist who sequences DNA.
Yeah.
She works
Yeah.
what last time I spoke to her anyway, she was working for like a biotech firm.
This begs
I
the
think she's a
question, by the
professor
way,
as well.
that who, if we don't even know what these people do, and when we do find out what they do, we don't know what it means, maybe we're not the best people to be selecting the world's smartest surfers.
I think that indicates how smart they are.
Right.
Is that
Yeah.
you
They're
and I
just,
can't even identify what the job is.
right.
She has a PhD in biochemistry, I can tell you that. But yeah, she works
Okay.
for a company and sequences DNA,
So,
basically.
what are some of the other selections,
Uh,
suggestions?
yeah, other suggestions, great one. Mark Renneker, who's an oncologist, also obviously a Mavericks pioneer.
Yeah.
Oncology is one of the most challenging medical disciplines, obviously.
Hmm.
George Greeno could be in the conversation just as being a general genius.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, huh? How would you characterize his genius? Sort of mad scientist. He's kind of like, he's kind of
Engineer,
like the guy who's the guy in those movies where
Willy Wonka,
yeah, he's kind of like Willy Wonka. That's not what I was thinking. I was thinking of Lloyd, you know, the movies where the
Back to the Future.
yeah, thank you. Back to the Future. He's like that mad scientist guy and Willy Wonka mixed.
Totally. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Uh, Equally as questionable a haircut
Yes.
as any of them. That's part of the common denominator. If you're going to be a mad scientist, you got to have a wacky haircut.
Yeah.
Peter Cole, Stanford graduate, YMA
Yeah.
pioneer. Fred
Yeah.
Van Dyke,
Yeah.
double BA in creative writing and physical education from San Francisco, also YMA pioneer. Bob Simmons, Caltech dropout, but mathematician with Douglas Aircraft.
Yeah. I feel
So
like we need a separate category for guys that are just kind of like batshit crazy.
there's a fine line, right,
There
between
is.
crazy and genius. So no, what we don't need a separate category. What we need to
Right.
do, which you and I have not done, is create the matrix
Hmm.
of things that qualify you to, that are I don't know, criterion for being smart, basically. We need to define smart. And
Yeah.
certainly the degree has something to do with it, but that doesn't have everything to do with it.
Right.
And so then there's output. What have you created? What have you contributed? All that kind of stuff. And then that gets
Wow.
weighted too.
You're doing good. And then we mentioned last time surfing ability has something there, right? Which I think is kind of weird. I think it's more, I don't know if it's surfing ability, but it's your commitment to the surf lifestyle. Like if you just own a surfboard and you just won a Pulitzer in physics, I mean, a Nobel Prize in physics, it- okay, yeah, you own a surfboard. You're not really in the culture, so you're not really a surfer. So I think
Yeah.
there needs to be some qualification there.
Well, what it'll come down to is Cliff Capone, like Doc Renneker, unquestionable, or Sarah Gerhardt as well, unquestionable, like big wave commitment and even savvy, like getting set waves on crazy days and doing the thing. Cliff does that as well, and then he does 360 aerials. So
Cliff's an
that
invite to the Eddie. I mean, he's an alternate, but
and he rides an Elia better than I can ride a shortboard. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, so that's where there starts to be a separation where the conversation, I mean, almost unquestionably, Cliff is the best, smartest surfer in the world, but not the smartest surfer in the world.
he might, Cliff probably uses trees wax too. Like his ecological footprint is probably really good.
Yeah,
Environmental footprint, whatever you call it. But is he better than Ricky Grigg? I mean, it's kind of two different generations.
it's hard to compare those.
It is.
Anyways, Ricky stands in pole position right now before we run the Matrix.
Yeah, Cliff's right there though, huh? But I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any downside to Cliff. Like I can't think of one thing that he doesn't do really well.
No, no, I mean, and he's the impetus for this whole conversation, so he
Yeah.
deserves it, you know. Um,
Fascinating.
but like I stated, he is helping support the new stereotype that I think
Is
we should.
is there a humility quotient?
Does that is if you can make an argument for how humility relates to smarts, then sure, we can include it.
Yeah, smarts is an interesting, like smart. Is it intelligent or is it smart? Like book smart or street smart? There's a lot there to chew on.
Yeah, I think the smartest people probably do lean towards humility at a certain point in their learning and understanding. Because
I think that's, yeah,
there's great value to your increasing your knowledge if
yes,
you are humble.
I agree. I've told you before that I think that if you were to define humility, it's to put yourself in a teachable state. And so if you've lost the teachable state, or if you're sort of like very convinced in your position,
Yeah.
almost stubborn in your position, then you might move down a little bit.
I think when I think about like the greatest missteps of my life, it was always related to pride or bravado or too big for your britches kind of a thing, you know? And then the greatest kind of growth phases have been related to being in that teachable state.
Yeah,
All
absolutely. You nailed it. That's exactly right.
right. Well, we'll keep this conversation going.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing that I wanted to note, and I actually wanted to open the show with it, but I got sidetracked, is the Scott Muir story, North, I think he's Oceanside surfer, or he's actually an Orange County surfer, but he was in Oceanside and had this really tragic accident. So we started getting shared this GoFundMe from a few listeners. But Scott's an incredible dad, friend, surfer. It's going to take him a long time to recover from this. But on the GoFundMe, they kind of wrote the story about what happened to Scott. The reason I'm reading this is because it's a PSA for you, anybody out there listening who surfs recreationally. This could happen to you. Scott was totally capable, qualified surfer, and he had this really life-altering accident. So on the GoFundMe, they give the full story, which I always appreciate. Sometimes you see a GoFundMe and they're like, somebody had a tragic accident, but they don't say what it was, you know? They give the full rundown here. They said Scott Muir, a warm hearted member of the South Orange County community, devoted father, loving husband, and everybody's best friend, needs our help and generosity. On September 28th, while surfing with a friend in Oceanside, Scott suffered a severe spinal cord injury. Earlier in September, he participated in a 30-mile open ocean paddle from Catalina to Newport, raising close to $5,000 in scholarships to promote ocean life saving. Just 2 weeks later, fellow surfers and lifeguards in nearby Oceanside used those same life saving skills to pull him from the water seconds from death. After a wipeout drove him into the ocean floor, leaving him face down, drowning and paralyzed from the neck down. He was stabilized and airlifted to Scripps Memorial Hospital in La Jolla, where he underwent immediate surgery to repair his fractured vertebrae. As a father, husband, pilot, young soccer coach, and proud 12-year U.S. Air Force veteran, and former captain of the U.S. Air Force Academy soccer team, Scott will now put the strength, tenacity, and heart that he brings to all endeavors to work to recover from this accident. To ensure the best possible recovery, Scott will spend the coming months out of state in an inpatient spinal cord injury rehabilitation hospital. It is anticipated that his recovery will take 12 to 18 months and will require considerable expenses directly related to his medical care and modifications to his home and vehicles to help them thrive upon his return home. Additionally, funds raised will alleviate stress related to his trauma for his wife of nearly 2 decades and his two school-age children by supporting airline tickets, home maintenance, meal deliveries, etc. Scott has been a primary breadwinner for the Muir family. The money raised will be used directly support the Muir family as they recover from this accident. Any unused funds will be donated directly to the heroes who saved Scott's life and foundations that support life-saving causes. Please share and contribute what you can to keep Scott surfing. Keep Scott surfing has rose from the belief that this was a freak accident that shouldn't deter Scott, his kids, or anyone else from the one of life's greatest joys, the ocean. When Scott's kids wiped out surfing, he encouraged them to press forward, humbly understanding the ocean's strength. Now it's time for us to help Scott do the same.
Wow, that's just sad. I mean, let's all chip in if we can, give what you can. It's he sounds like a wonderful man, and it's just a really, you know, heart-wrenching situation.
Stuff can happen to anybody. I mean, obviously, doing the 30 mile, this guy was super fit, and super ocean aware and savvy. And it's the reality of just anything. Like, wipe out, you hit the bottom, doesn't take a lot of force. You just do it the wrong way and life altering
Y-
consequences. So,
You know what I think of too is like how many times we've all just
oh,
been
yeah,
really, really close and we had no idea. We
dude,
had no idea we were just 3 inches away from just, you know,
the angle
yeah,
is just right or wrong
yeah,
and
something
just
weird like that.
centimeters
Yeah.
difference. Yeah. And also, the other thing to keep in mind here, kind of as a PSA, is preparedness and awareness of your buddies or anybody else that's in the lineup, because it was his buddy who rescued him and he was face down, presumably conscious, but face
Oh
down and
man. Oh my God.
unable to turn himself over to get
Oh,
breath. So whoever that was with him, I mean, hero Duke status for sure.
yeah. Well, put that link in the show notes so
Of
that people
course.
can be in. I know, I'm just
Yeah, yeah.
telling listeners that it'll be there.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well,
Um, a little segue into the ocean needs more friends, of course. Surfrider Foundation, I'm doing a podcast with them if you want to learn more about a lot of their initiatives and work, and actually the people behind the initiatives. The original conceit for the podcast was they put out data in these headlines that are impactful, but the human stories behind them often aren't getting told. So my objective with the podcast is kind of to shine a light on the individuals, sometimes employees, sometimes volunteers, and sometimes just people in the community who are affected by these pollution issues or whatever that's going on. So if you want to listen to the Surfrider podcast, go and do that wherever you're listening to this. And of course, become a member at surfrider.org. And then I also have a must see moment. Scott, I know you mentioned yours earlier.
yeah.
Mine is the return of the straight air. There was two clips this
Yeah.
week that I saw on Instagram that blew my mind, and they were both straight airs.
Huh.
One was in a pool and one was in the ocean in South Africa. The one in South Africa was a surfer I'd never heard of. His name's Luke Slipen. South African surfer does this huge straight air in the wind and like does a shifty mid-air. So there's no grab at all. He just does a shifty late in the air and then straightens it out and lands perfectly. Thing was 8 feet out and it was incredible and huge. So I'll post that as a must-see moment presented by Trees Wax. And
Did
then
you
the
say shifty?
yeah,
He did a shifty?
yeah. Do you know what a shifty is?
I've never heard of a shifty.
Okay, here's my phone. Let me grab the white one
I
actually.
think I understand what it is.
So a shifty, here's a straight air projection, right?
Okay. Okay.
Shifty is you kick the tail out and
Ah,
then pull it back.
ah,
You
okay.
see BMXers do that a lot of times. It's like
Right.
a 90-degree tail whip and then control it and bring it back. It's a lot
Yeah.
harder to do on a surfboard because
Right.
obviously you're kicking your board out in front of you and then bringing it back under the weight of your own feet without grabbing.
Wow.
So
Okay.
pretty epic.
Shifty. Yeah.
Yep, shifty. And then the other one was Raiji Masuda, the Japanese kid. We've seen him in Stab High. He's unbelievably stylish. Um, he was in the wave pool, I believe, in Japan and did this 10-foot straight air and just lands it unbelievably buttery. Just as huge as I've ever seen a straight air, super controlled. Look like he approached it as casual as you could be, flies 10 feet in the air casual and lands, greases the landing in the transition, barely even goes down on his knees at all, like compresses at all, just kind of the most. It was like it was a 10-foot wave and he was just on the face and he went up to the top of the face and came down the face with almost no uh, you know, impact or transition of it. It was just all smooth transition of energy. So Raiji
Cool.
Masuda, the straight air, making a huge comeback. I'm claiming it for Stab High even. Could win the event.
All right. Fair enough.
Presented by treeswax.com/spit. Save 20% if you use the spit promo code on treeswax. And it comes with a money back guarantee online.
There you go. Look at
Boom.
this.
Boom.
All right. Well, look, um, anything else? We've said a lot.
Let me scroll through the top of my notes in case we missed anything. Nope, that's it. Other than just see you at the Boardroom Show.
See you at the
Psyched.
Boardroom Show this weekend. Yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
be good.
All
All
right.
right. Well, look, David, until next time, adios and aloha.